call this June 28th, 2023 meeting of the Albuquerque-Bernalillo County Water Utility Authority to order. Councilor Davis and Councilor Jones are excused, and Member Reales running a little bit late. All other members are present. Item number 2, we will have a moment of silence and then the Pledge of Allegiance led by Commissioner Baca. Thank you, Commissioner. That takes us to item number 3, approval of our minutes. I make a motion to approve the May 17th, 2023 minutes. Is there a second? Second from Councilor Feeblecorn. And we could get all those in favor to raise your hand and signify aye. Aye. None opposed. The motion is approved. Item number 4, we have our proclamations and awards. I'm pleased to announce that the Water Authority has once again been named a Utility of the Future today by the National Water Environment Federation. Utility, also honored in 2016, 2019, and 2020, maintains its Utility of the Future distinction in 2023 for its forward-looking use of wastewater treatment byproducts for fuel, its optimization of electric power consumption, and its growing reliance on solar power. WEF will officially honor the Water Authority at a ceremony in Chicago this October, and allow me to offer my congratulations on behalf of the board to the utility and its staff for this achievement. Congratulations. A growing history of great awards here. So, item number 5, public comment. Ms. Salas, do we have anyone signed up to speak?
We did have one, but she had technical difficulties getting into the system.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Salas. And we did receive a public comment via email from Ms. Hubbard, and hopefully as we go forward, we'll get the technical issues figured out, whatever side it was on. So thank you. So item number 6, announcements and communications. Our next scheduled meeting is August 23rd, 2023 at 5 p.m. in the Vincent Griego Council Chambers. And we're going to just tweak the agenda just a little bit here tonight, and we're going to actually move up item 10D, which is OB 23-16, our federal program update. We do have our federal lobbyists with us here tonight. So I wanted to ask Mr. O'Donnell, Mr. John O'Donnell, to come up if you would like to present.
So, Mr. Chairman, Madam Vice Chair, members of the board, appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight. My name is Kyriakos Pagonis. I work with MMO Partners on behalf of the water utility in Washington, D.C. Thank you for the opportunity to give you a brief update, very brief and short update on what's going on in Washington and an update on your federal priorities. Next slide. So happening in D.C., sometimes I know that can sound funny because there could be some jokes around that, but actually a lot going on. So the Fiscal Responsibility Act, the debt ceiling negotiations wrapped up. We averted a debt crisis and actually came out with top-line spending figures for FY24 and FY25. So what that means is Congress now knows the top-line amount of money that they can spend for both fiscal years. So the FY24 appropriations process is currently ongoing. Congress is on recess until July 10th. When they come back, they will resume appropriations markups. So the House has already passed, the House Appropriations Committee has passed 6 of 12 bills. The Senate has moved 2 of 12. And while that doesn't sound necessarily like a lot, just to give you a little bit of some history there, the Senate has not marked up any bills over the past 2 years. So the fact that they are moving bills is actually pretty significant. They are also moving on Defense Authorization Act, which authorizes military spending, and also moving on the Infrastructure and Inflation Reduction Act implementation. So those 2 bills significantly increase funding for infrastructure, The Inflation Reduction Act certainly has invested a lot of money in climate change and mitigating climate change. I know the utility is aggressively looking at both programs and seeking funding for projects. Next slide. So this slide is really just an overview of the information John is going to get into, but it talks about your federal priorities under legislation, obviously the FY24 spending and congressionally directed spending earmarks, Water Resources Development Act of 2024, which we expect will start at the end of this year. Federal grants, as I mentioned, the utility is pursuing the Southside Water Reclamation Plant funding, and then projects underway. So Abiquiu Reservoir and Kirtland Air Force Base fuel spill. John? Next slide.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, as Kyriakis mentioned, I'm just going to focus on some legislation, grants, and projects briefly. So this list before you is a list of the appropriations requests that the water utilities submitted to the congressional delegation. And there's the process of submitting the delegation a list of projects, and then there's the process of the delegation actually forwarding the ones they choose to send to the subcommittees. So the ones that are listed here are projects that were submitted by the congressional delegation, and we've listed the names of the members of the delegation who submitted them. The last one is an interesting request because it doesn't specifically relate to the water utility, but what Senator Heinrich does or has done the last 2 fiscal years is to actually set aside an amount of money or request an amount of money that can be used for what they call environmental infrastructure projects in New Mexico. In 1999 and then again in 2014, they authorized a provision in the WRDA bill, the Water Resources Development Act, which really focuses spending for the Corps of Engineers on central New Mexico, 3 counties, Bernalillo, Valencia, and Sandoval counties. And then in 2014, they expanded an authorization which covers the entire state of New Mexico. So funding that he gets each year in the appropriations bill, the Corps of Engineers, the district office here in Albuquerque makes decisions on where to spend the funding for that. And I would say, just as an aside, to give you a historical reference, the North and South Valley Utilities Project was a project that benefited from this environmental infrastructure funding over the years. Next slide, please. I wanted to mention the fact that the utility has submitted a ecosystem water project to the Bureau of Reclamation. This is under the WaterSmart program. We expect decisions to be made on this project later this summer, maybe the end of July, early August. The water utility back in 1992, we authorized a provision in a Bureau of Reclamation authorizing bill that the city of Albuquerque at that time, but later was transferred over to the water utility, has an authorization for wastewater recycling programs. And this grant does not relate directly to that provision. You can seek funding for projects like wastewater recycling, desalination projects because you have that authorization under certain programs. This one is a competitive grant program that is under the WaterSmart program. We mentioned projects. There are 2 projects, Abiquiu Reservoir and Kirtland Air Force Base, both fuel facility. The water utility, and I give a lot of credit to Mark Sanchez and the staff, because the water utility was very persevering in dealing with Congress back in 2019. Actually, it started in about 2015 to get the authority to store more water at Abiquiu Reservoir. As the staff here knows well, one of the struggles that we had was, if you can believe this, dealing with committee staff on the House and Senate side, 2 committees that thought there was an easy solution to authorizing this additional storage, but they got into a partisan battle over which provision might work and how it might work. The Corps of Engineers got into it and thought there was an administrative way. And to Mr. Sanchez's credit and Mr. Stomp's credit at that time, we were able to pursue this effort with Congress. And as I explained earlier today in a conversation, Mr. Pagonis and myself actually met with the chair of the House Transportation and Infrastructure Committee, who assured us in 2019, and then he did it in 2020, he was going to stick this provision in the Water Resources Bill because it made it more simple to authorize that additional storage. The challenge now that we're working on is working with the Corps for them to update the water control manual for the Abiquiu Reservoir. So that's an ongoing project. The other project, as you well know, is Kirtland Air Force Base. And our role in that, and I want to congratulate and compliment the water utility staff. On June 2nd, we had an excellent briefing by the water utility staff for the congressional delegation on the present situation between the water utility, the New Mexico Environment Department, and Kirtland Air Force Base. I'm not an expert on explaining some of the details about what is going to transpire after this. I don't want to be speculative, but I think what will be required here, and the next step is really at the end of July, I believe, for the Air Force to meet a requirement on the work that they're supposed to do. So the New Mexico Environment Department has the action at that point. My expectation is this going further or farther will require more direct action by the water utility with the congressional delegation, because there's always an issue with federal spending about where the priorities are, and the Air Force has several significant environmental priority challenges in New Mexico. So that, members of the board, Mr. Chairman, is my report. Thank you. I'm glad to answer any questions if you have them.
Thank you, Mr. O'Donnell. Any questions from the board? Commissioner Barboa?
Thank you. Thank you so much for this update. Thank you for also sharing the story. Thank you. Thank you for sharing the background and history. And thank you, Mr. Mark, for your leadership always. I love hearing about how folks are making things work. For me, just about both these two projects, what does it mean to update the water manual?
The Corps of Engineers has, for every reservoir and dam that they operate in the country, they have a set of procedures that guide how that reservoir or dam is operated. So there is one for Abiquiu Reservoir. So this legislation that was in the WRDA bill in 2020, because of the additional storage, requires the Corps to write what I'm going to briefly say is implementation guidance, which amends how they operate the reservoir because of the additional storage of San Juan Chama and native water.
That would likely, I'm assuming that would include things like where the water comes from, where it's going out, where it's stored.
It's mostly about the operations of just the reservoir. I'm not an expert on the water coming in and the water going out, but they have to describe how this additional water will impact the operations of the reservoir.
Okay, thank you for that clarity. And if I may, Chair, my second question, thank you for always bringing up the Kirtland Air Force Base. So I just want to make sure I'm clear that, so the end, when you say, I guess I didn't sort of get that last part. I heard end of July, there's airfare and the New Mexico, you said something about New Mexico Education or Environment Department. It's like, I didn't hear that last.
There's a compliance deadline that's set by the Department of Environment for the Air Force Base, the Air Force, to comply with the regulations that New Mexico Environment Department has set forth. And so if the Air Force does not meet those, I'm not exactly sure what the next step is. I do expect that at that point, the congressional delegation and the governor's office would be very interested in what the Air Force is going to do. Earlier, I had a conversation about this, and I think what happened the last time there was an event like this, a circumstance like this, the Air Force complied with some of the requirements. I'm not sure they complied with all of them.
And then if I may, Chair, and I guess I would love to just know and maybe send my own personal letter, email, or gratitude to the folks that were in that room, or I don't know if Mr. Mark Sanchez could share it with me, or who should I ask for it?
Yes, the briefing.
The briefing.
Yes. We can supply that information, sure.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the update. And thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Barboa, and I just wanted to dovetail on that, and I was in that briefing. I think that's the briefing you're talking about, and very grateful for our dedicated and excellent staff at the authority that really provided some excellent information to staffers in, I think, most, if not all, of the congressional offices, and I think it was really a good collaboration. I think all of the offices were very much in support of finding ways to collaborate with us and help address this serious concern. So it was really good work all the way around. So, Mr. O'Donnell, I do have one question for you. On one of the slides, there was an asterisk next to the Carnwell Water Project, which is in my district. So I didn't see any description of that. What was that?
You don't have enough time for me to describe what the water utility has done on that issue. I put that asterisk there because and you being a county commissioner, the county originally asked for, or started this year for FY24 appropriations to make that request. And then I believe it was Senator Heinrich's office suggested that, and I think this was because of the accounts that he's aware of that are eligible for earmarking, he thought it would be better for the water utility to make that request. So that's the reason for the asterisk.
Great. Excellent. Well, very supportive of that project, a really important project to bring clean drinking water and sewer services to a community that desperately needs it. So
I would say,
appreciate your work on that.
Mr. Chairman, I would say that the water utility has done an outstanding job of working on this issue over the years and overcome a lot of resistance from certain sectors in Washington to get this project moving.
Totally agree with you. Appreciate your perspective, and if there's no other questions or comments from board members, we'll let you go. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And then one other change to our agenda tonight is we're going to be removing item 10C, OB 23-15, which is our Water 2120 update. That will be postponed until the August 23rd board meeting. So item number 7 is our introduction, aka first reading of legislation R23-18. This is authorizing the issuance and sale of senior lien joint water and sewer system improvement revenue bonds. And we have Mr. Harrigan here to present.
Good evening, Chair, members of the board. Eric Harrigan with RBC Capital Markets. And so what's before you is the first reading of ordinance and confirming resolution authorizing the issuance of the sale of bonds in the amount of $121.3 million. I do have a presentation that I'll go through, explain a little bit more about the project as well as the authority's outstanding debt. If we could pull up the presentation, then I'll be happy to answer any questions. I will note that the resolution and ordinance that is before you is consistent with the prior ordinances and confirming resolutions that the authority has approved in the past, issuing bonds. The one sort of minor change here, as I'll talk about in my presentation, is that we anticipate issuing these bonds through the New Mexico Finance Authority. So if you go on to next slide, please. This is all of the authority's outstanding debt. The authority has a little over 129 million or 529 million of outstanding bonds on page, and I'm on page 2 of the presentation. There aren't any of the authority's bonds that are callable for interest rate savings. There will be some coming up next year, which we will evaluate at that point in time to determine whether or not we can lower any of the authority's outstanding bonds for interest rate savings. On the next slide, on slide 2, I want to talk a little bit about the authority's debt profile. Your debt profile has very rapidly declining debt service. This provides the authority with a lot of flexibility to be able to fund future capital projects. And that's really because in the next 5 years, the authority will pay off almost 60% of all of its debt, and in the next 10 years, over 90%. And this is significantly faster than most utilities around the country. Part of this is because the authority does have very conservative debt policies, has really put it in position to help fund the Water 2120 over the next 40+ years. And we'll kind of talk a little bit about what your debt profile looks like. Also, the authority has very strong bond ratings, AA+ from Standard & Poor's, AA+ from Fitch. The authority recently got upgraded from AA to AA+ from Fitch, and then AA2 from Moody's. Next slide, please. On the next slide, you'll really see how quickly the authority's debt pays off. These bonds that we're talking about this evening will be structured to take advantage of that. So there will be very little impact to the authority's existing debt service. And as you can see how quickly that debt pays off, that will allow the authority to issue bonds in the future and effectively maintain its existing debt service, but provide significant capital towards 2120. Next slide, please. On this slide, so of the $121 million that's being authorized, $56 million will be for your basic needs rehab infrastructure. This will be funded on a 12-year final maturity basis, and then $65 million of other projects which are listed below. So there's $28 million for grit removal from surface and water ponds, $24 million rehab force main and lift station, $10 million of CIP project market adjustments, and then $3 million for the grading the Vulcan site. That $65 million of projects will be funded on a 25-year repayment, and as I mentioned, these bonds will be structured to take advantage of that sharp decline in the authority's debt service. I will note that the structure of these bonds does meet the authority's debt policy, and as I mentioned, and as will come up later in your agenda, we do anticipate issuing these bonds through the New Mexico Finance Authority, slightly lower cost to the Water Authority by going through the New Mexico Finance Authority, and there is a resolution submitting a final application to the Finance Authority, and it's really a procedural step that the Finance Authority requires. On the next slide, this is the graph of the outstanding debt with the proposed 2023 bonds. You can see the yellow line in there. That's the old debt. You can really see how there's very little change in the authority's debt service, and still preserving that really significant decline in debt service. So from a timing schedule on the next slide on page 6, so going forward, there's no meeting in July, we would come back to your August meeting for you to approve the ordinance and the confirming resolution. Because this is a New Mexico Finance Authority sold on a simultaneous, and what that means is the New Mexico Finance Authority goes out into the market, they sell bonds at the same time and pass those exact rates on to the Water Utility Authority. The pricing will occur in the early October timeframe. Closing will occur late October, and that's when funds will be available for the authority to expend on the projects. We have a number of slides that we have on the market. I'll just cover one, which is these are the AAA MMD rates. This is how all tax-exempt municipal bonds are priced. You'll see it's the 10, 20, and 30-year. As I think we all know, rates have risen fairly significantly over the last 18 months. in part to the Federal Reserve raising interest rates to get a handle on inflation. However, if you look back where rates are currently, looking back 10 years, interest rates are still pretty attractive. We would anticipate that the borrowing for the authority would range somewhere in the 3.75 to 4% range. Again, that's obviously subject to market fluctuations. And as I mentioned, once in October we price those bonds, those rates will be locked in and will be fixed for the term of the bonds. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions up here from the board? And I did want to just briefly mention that Member Real is present. I didn't speak on that earlier. With that being said, I don't see any questions here. I don't have any myself. I think it's really important that we continue to invest in our critical infrastructure, and certainly water and sewer is one of those. So I would make a motion for this authorization.
Second.
A second from Commissioner Baca. Yes, Mr. Sanchez.
Mr. Chair, it's only for introduction.
Oh, okay, understood. So we're good then. Thank you so much, Mr. Harrigan.
Thank you.
That takes us to item number 8, which is our consent agenda. Do we have any changes to be made to the consent agenda? Not seeing any. So with that being said, I make a motion to adopt the consent agenda. Do I have a second? Second from Councilor Feeblecorn. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please raise your hand in the affirmative. Seeing none opposed, motion carries unanimously. Item number 9, which is our real approvals. Item A, R23-13, amending water service policies for the South Valley Drinking Water Project. This is the second reading, and Ms. Anderson will present.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. So this is the second reading, like you said. This is an amendment to the South Valley Drinking Water Project to add the areas to be served by phases 8 and 9 to that area. And I stand for any questions. I recommend approval. This is also the funding that was provided by the county for extension of drinking water to this area. So thank you to the county for providing that funding.
Any questions from board members? It's a fantastic project and wonderful to actually be saying that we're about finished with it. So that's great news. Make a motion to approve. Second from Councilor Feeblecorn. Seeing no further discussion, all in favor, please raise your hand in the affirmative. Seeing none opposed, the motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Ms. Anderson. Item B, R23-14, is approving and authorizing a New Mexico Environment Department appropriation for the Windrock wastewater reuse system. Ms. Ortiz.
Hi, good evening, Mr. Chair, prospective board members. This resolution authorizes the Water Authority to enter into an agreement with the New Mexico Environment Department in the amount of $1.385 million. This funding is a reappropriation of funding that was necessary to broaden the scope of services for this project. This reuse system funding will provide reclaimed water for the irrigation to the Windrock site and public parks in the surrounding areas. There is no fiscal impact related to this resolution due to the fact that this capital outlay appropriation was included in the 2019 fiscal year budgets. And per policy, capital outlay appropriations or any appropriations in the capital funds do roll per policy. So I stand for any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Ortiz. Any questions? Councilor Feeblecorn.
Not really a question. I just wanted to take this opportunity to thank staff for all their work on this project. This is right in the middle of my district in the Windrock area, and it's a really cool project, and we're really excited to see it moving forward, and it certainly wouldn't be moving forward without the Water Utility Authority.
Thank you so much.
Anything further? Yes, Commissioner Barboa.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, just thanks for the update. Also, just to say that I think it's just an excellent project. I think what it's going to mean for the neighborhood and the surrounding areas. So I think I feel so proud that there's this piece that we're doing on this side of town, and I think it's bigger than just sort of creating a water reservoir. So thank you all for the work, for the conservation efforts, for being creative, and how the developers thought about the structure and the water. I think it's great. So just wanted to appreciate folks before my time, but thank you.
Thank you.
And I just wanted to also chime in there, since it's also my district too. It's the border between Commissioner Barboa and I. Yeah, you lost in redistricting, right? So it's a really important project and just super exciting. And it's an exciting collaboration between the authority, the private developers in that area, and even our congressional delegation. Senator Lujan has been sponsoring that funding for that project in this next year if it makes it in. So really good project. And you want to make the motion?
I'll move approval.
I'll second. Any further discussion on this? Seeing none, all in favor, please raise your hand in the affirmative. Seeing none opposed, the motion carries unanimously.
Thank you so much.
Item C is R23-15, authorizing and approving submission of an application for financial assistance to the New Mexico Finance Authority and making certain findings in connection therewith. Mr. Alred.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, this resolution, as stated by Mr. Harrigan, is just informing this governing board that we are filing a application with the New Mexico Finance Authority. That's part of the requirements, part of the application process. I talked over this with Mr. Harrigan. When he was doing his introduction, there is no bond ordinance for this deal because it's an MFA borrowing through that organization. So it was just a resolution for introduction. Staff recommends approval, and I stand for any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Alred. Any questions from board members? I did want to ask just what are the advantages to going through the Mortgage Finance Authority?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, the biggest advantage is one that Mr. Harrigan talked about. There's a lot of fees attached to doing a revenue bond. The Finance Authority waives all those fees to this organization. It's a pretty substantial amount, a few $100,000 worth of fees. The other advantage is that other smaller municipalities have a chance to piggyback on our credit and the larger borrowing, and it actually can help smaller municipalities and government entities across the state get favorable financing too on possible financing.
Excellent. I appreciate that. That's great. We're not only saving our ratepayers some money and investing more in our projects, but helping some of our neighbors.
Absolutely.
I make a motion for approval. Second from Vice Chair Feeblecorn. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please raise your hand in the affirmative. Seeing none opposed, item carries unanimously. Item D is R23-16, authorizing the Albuquerque-Bernalillo County Water Utility Authority to submit an application for a WaterSmart grant financial assistance for the Southside Wastewater Reclamation Plant outfall project. Ms. Ortiz.
Hi, thank you, Mr. Chair and board members. This resolution authorizes the Water Authority to seek funding assistance and apply to the Bureau of Reclamation as indicated in the federal report for the Southside Wastewater Reclamation Outfall Restoration Project in the amount of $3.1 million. This project will improve and enhance the existing habitat areas throughout the removal of riverside species. Also, this project aligns with the Water Authority's 100-year water resource management strategy. Fiscal impact in applying for this grant is 35%, and that funding has been identified through awarded capital outlay through the state, as well as a Water Trust Board funding that will be introduced to this board at a later date. Staff recommends approval of this resolution, and if you have any questions, let me know.
Any questions up here? Commissioner Baca.
I move approval, and I just want to say that I've walked the area. It's a beautiful project. I'm really encouraged that we are doing this. It's a great opportunity at the Bosque there, at the outfall. So thank you for that.
A second from Councilor Feeblecorn, and anything further from the board? Seeing none, all in favor, please raise your hand in the affirmative. None opposed?
Great.
Item
Thank you
carries
so much.
unanimously. Thank you. All right, that concludes our second readings, our approvals, and takes us to other business. Item A, OB 23-13 is our CIP project update. Good evening, Mr. Laughlin.
Thank you. Good evening, members of the board. My name is David Laughlin, and I'm the Chief Engineer for Centralized Engineering for the Water Authority. Centralized Engineering is responsible for implementing the Water Authority's capital improvement program budget, which means managing the design and construction of numerous CIP projects on an annual basis. The Centralized Engineering staff, excuse me, is made up of about 25 engineers, project managers, scientists, inspectors, and specialists, and just a great group of top-notch folks that I'm very blessed to work with on a regular basis, on a daily basis. We work very closely with operations staff. We also work with outside consultants and contractors to complete our CIP projects, which result in the rehab, repair, and replacement of our critical water, sewer, and reuse infrastructure. So I've prepared a presentation for you today that'll provide a brief update on our budget for FY23, and then also we'll kind of discuss some of our priority projects, and then I've provided some pictures to kind of show you some of the active rehab projects that we've got going on in construction around Albuquerque this year. Next slide. So this is a slide of the FY22 decade plan update. We utilize the decade plan as our budgeting tool to plan for not only this year's budget, but also the next 10 years budgets. This decade plan, as many of you well know, is based on a very robust asset management program where we're looking at the condition assessment of all of our assets, identifying the highest priorities for rehab and repair and replacement, and then also utilizing information and feedback from our operations groups to identify the highest priority projects for us to fund. And then we work to plan those out over the next 10 years and budget them accordingly on an annual basis. So what this shows is in FY23, we had budgeted around $69 million for the funding that we needed for the priority projects that we had. Next slide. And so before we talk about FY23, I thought you guys might get a good perspective in terms of comparing the spending that we've done in FY23 compared with what we've done in previous years. So starting back in FY21, we spent about $82.5 million. And that was a little bit of an anomaly. It was based on some carryover. Our budget carries over from one fiscal year to the next for funds that are not spent. And so we took advantage of a couple of years where we were below budget, and we were able to accomplish a couple of very large interceptor and plant rehab projects in FY21. In FY22, COVID hit, or we were certainly in the midst of COVID, and it had a pretty significant impact on the projects that we had in design and in construction. And specifically, it really had an impact on the supply chain. And so many of our projects that we kind of thought would go much, much quicker certainly took longer. That meant everything from equipment and parts and pieces that we were ordering, something that normally took 3 months to get in, now took 6 months to get in. And so as a function of that in FY22, we didn't spend quite as much as we thought we would. We only spent about $50 million. And then the rest of that funding rolled over into FY23. And as of June of FY23, we've spent about $65 million. And we've spent that $65 million on an array of different projects. Kind of the breakdown, as far as sanitary sewer, we've spent about $21 million in FY23. For water lines, about $6 million. For treatment processes at the wastewater plant, about $17 million. For our soil amendment facility, lift stations, odor stations, vacuum stations. We've spent about $2 million this year. For our groundwater, well sites, reservoirs, pump stations, et cetera, we've spent about $6.5 million this year. For our water plant, we spent about $2 million. It's a newer facility, so a little bit less there. And then for reuse, compliance, shared impacts, franchise, and our fleet, we spent about $10.5 million. So that's kind of just a brief breakdown of how we spent those funds this year. Current challenges that we're continuing to face as we move forward, and that I don't think will change anytime in the near term. We're still seeing very extended timelines for the supply chain for delivery of equipment, mechanical equipment, pumps, et cetera. We're still looking anywhere from 3 to 6 months for most of that equipment, whereas before, a lot of times it was off-the-shelf stuff that we could get very quickly. For electrical equipment, we've got very, very long lead times in many cases, 12 months, 18 months, 24 months in some cases. So things that will just extend the timeframes of our projects. We've also got very busy contractors and consultants. Obviously, here in Albuquerque, we share those resources with other, with city, county, AMAFCA, MRGCD, lots of other entities as well. And so that certainly impacts how quickly we can get projects designed and into construction. And then finally, just operational needs. We continue to have, needs as our assets age from the operations groups. And so we're constantly working with those operations groups to kind of assess the priorities that we have and sort of, rearrange which projects need to go first so that we can get certain critical infrastructure rehabbed or replaced. Next slide. Priority rehab projects. So this is kind of a map showing some of our priority rehab projects spread across the city in all the various city councilor districts, county commissioner districts. And so I figured I would just sort of go through and very briefly provide some status updates on some of these projects. Would welcome any questions you guys might have on these. I'll start on the west side with our Volcano Cliffs Arsenic Treatment Facility. This is a very high priority project for us. It's funded with Water Trust Board funds as well as county ARPA funds. So again, big thanks to the county for much of the ARPA funding that we have for several of these projects, and I've identified those on the slide that are ARPA funded. But this project is going to bring about 12 million gallons per day of potable drinking water to the west side. And it is in the final stages of design. We should be able to bid this project here in August, September of this year, and then move into construction. So very excited to get that project moving. Staying on the west side, Interceptor Sewer Rehab. As many of you noted from the previous slides, we've spent about $21 million this year on Interceptor Rehab. That continues to be one of our highest priorities. And it will be one of our highest priorities moving forward. We just have a lot of aging concrete pipe that's in danger of collapsing. And so this is a rehab project on the west side between I-40 and Western Trail. It's going to rehab about 2.5 miles of 48-inch interceptor pipe. It's in construction right now, started in March, and should be completed before the end of the year. And we're about halfway complete with the rehab right now. So, and I'm going to show some pictures here in a little while. So pretty neat project. Sewer rehab, another project moving to the Old Town area, 15th and Mountain. We've got an active interceptor rehab project that's rehabbing about 1 mile of interceptor pipe there of 60-inch pipe with 54-inch. It's a slip lining project. That project started in May of this year and should be completed before the end of the year as well. Steel water line replacement is actively happening on the east side.
Yes, member.
Yes, sir.
Real had a question.
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I do want to talk about this project in particular.
Sure.
So you're talking about another 5 or 6 months before that's done?
For which project?
Well, I'm sorry, the one you just mentioned, the one.
For the
in Old Town?
15th and Mountain?
Yeah.
We should be done with that project by, we're hoping October, November. So should be done in the next, we're about 50% done with construction at this point in time.
We're getting a lot of, Mr. Chairman, a lot of calls in the mayor's office and a lot of calls to me about that project in particular, realizing that and recognizing that it is a water authority project. A lot of neighbors are really concerned about the traffic pattern, and I recognize the fact that the traffic alternatives are pretty slim, given where the construction is. Is that a project that is on a fast schedule to, if you will, like, is it a 24-hour construction, or is that just a normal structure of a construction project?
It's normal structure of a construction project.
I would just say, to you and to the staff, as it relates to that, a lot of folks are getting really concerned about the impacts, especially those old town streets that are narrow and difficult, et cetera. Sometimes the signage isn't always up to, during the weekends especially, somebody moves the signs around and reroutes traffic, not the authority, and I suspect not the barricading company. But we are getting a lot of calls about the length of that project, and so it'd really be good if we could maybe get something out to the community, just maybe an update on a quarterly basis or something, because some folks just don't really fully appreciate the nature of the project and how complicated it appears to be. I certainly didn't know much about that until you just mentioned that it was going to be that long, so.
Okay. Absolutely, we can certainly do that, and one of the things that we're certainly trying to prioritize is we're very close to being complete with the rehab on Mountain, which impacts a lot of the smaller streets that feed right into Mountain right there. So the goal is to get off of Mountain by early August, and to be then focused really pretty much on 15th, going south to Lomas. So we're working as quickly as we can to get that done.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. That is that's a critical piece of information.
Yes.
That's really good that's what's going to happen. I do think opening up Mountain is probably the bigger issue for the community, so I appreciate that very much.
Absolutely. We've got a couple pits there that just need to get wrapped up as quickly as possible. So we're working very hard to do that.
Thank you.
So moving on, steel water line replacement in the kind of the downtown east side area, Mountain and Zuni. This is replacing 2 miles of aging steel and ductile iron water line. It's in construction as of March and will be completed before the end of the year as well. West Side Interceptor Emergency Housing Complex. This is a project where we're installing debris screens and a new gravity sewer system out by Double Eagle Airport for the city's West Side Emergency Housing Complex. That's going to allow them to expand some of their facility upgrades at that facility, and so that project has been in construction since last June, and we're about a month to 2 months away from being done with that project. We're really just waiting on some last-minute electrical equipment, which again just has been delayed as far as delivery. So we're very, very close to getting that project completed. That is the West Side Emergency Housing Facility. Yes.
Sorry. It says Mountain Zuni.
Yes, ma'am.
I think those roads, I think they're parallel, but I could be wrong. And maybe that's for another time. I don't know.
They are parallel, or they basically sort of come together essentially, and so that's some of our highest priority older steel water line replacement that needs to be done. Every year we have a steel water line project where we're spending minimum $2 million of rehab funds to replace some of that very, very poor, heavily corroded steel and ductile iron or cast iron water line.
So it's where the water line comes together.
Yes,
not the road.
yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
That is correct. Yes. Going back to the west side, the To'Hajiilee transmission line. Again, another ARPA-funded and Water Trust Board-funded project that we're pushing forward as quickly as we can. This project will provide an 8-inch water line to To'Hajiilee, to the Pueblo, to provide them with clean water. Currently, they've been relying on one single supply well, so this is going to be a huge project for them and kind of a game changer. We're completed with the design. We've got our submittals into NMED for approval, and as soon as we get that approval, we'll be going to bid. So should be going to bid on that project here in the next 2 months or so, and then after that, immediately into construction. So that'll be a good 7-mile pipeline that will be extending from our 7W reservoir site all the way out to To'Hajiilee.
Commissioner Baca?
So you said a 2-month bidding process, and then we'll go immediately into, what is the estimated construction start date?
So hope you're not going to hold me to this, but I think our construction start should be sometime in probably November timeframe. And then we're looking at probably a 12 to 18-month construction timeframe, depending on material availability.
Thank you.
The 80 transmission line, back to the far east side, the 80 transmission line is a project where we're going to install a transmission line for a second source of supply to the Escondido Reservoir in the Four Hills area. That's an area where in the past when we've had line breaks or valve breaks, we've gotten very close to running out of water in that reservoir when we've had to shut down that transmission line. So this will provide a second source of supply there. That project is in design. We're working very closely with the city and open space to make that project happen. So the goal is to work on that design here throughout this year, early part of next year, and then go into construction in FY25. Cardinal Water and Sewer projects. These are ARPA-funded projects. We have 2 projects, a extension to the water system as well as phase 1 of the sanitary sewer system for Cardinal. Both of those are under design right now with the goal of getting the designs completed before the end of the year and then going into construction on both of those projects. And again, those are county ARPA-funded projects. So really looking
I do have a question for you on those. It's probably
Yes, sir.
my district anyway, the project I get the most questions on and the most feedback about. So are we looking at depending on bids, both of those being under construction at roughly the same time, the sewer
Yes.
and the phase 2 water?
Most likely, yes, sir.
Okay, great.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yep. Kirtland Air Force Base. This is an active interceptor rehab project that's going on right now at Kirtland Air Force Base. This is on our Taharis interceptor trunk. And that project is rehabbing 1.5 miles of aging 60-inch interceptor sewer pipe. That project's been in construction since middle of last year. And we should be wrapping up the interceptor rehab portion of that work within the next 2 months. And then there will be some additional water line or interceptor line protection work that has to be done, which will take place towards the end of this year, probably starting in October, and then extend into early next year. But the interceptor rehab portion is very, very close to being completed. So, MDC lift station and force main project. This is a project where we'll be installing a lift station and force main out at the Metropolitan Detention Center. It's an ARPA-funded project. It'll help us to decommission the existing lagoon system, and that project's in design with the goal of having design completed before the end of the year and then going into construction in 2024. South Valley Drinking Water Phases 8 and 9. That was discussed earlier this evening as well. That project is in design right now, ARPA-funded. The goal is to have design completed on that project before the end of this year and go into construction on Phases 8A and a portion of 8B on that project in 2024. Bosque West Side Reuse Project is an ARPA-funded project. We're in the planning and design stages, putting together a preliminary engineering report as well as a basis of design report for that, for a new reclamation plant on the west side, which will provide purple pipe reuse piping for the west side. It'll be the first reuse project on the west side. So very excited for that project. A lot of work still to be done on that one. Well pump station and reservoir rehab. There was just the well pump station and reservoir rehab work that we're doing is too numerous to put on a map like this. It just would be all over the place. But we are continuing to, on an annual basis, spend $6 to $7 million annually to repair and rehab and maintain all of our existing pump station and reservoir sites around the city. Mesa del Sol Reuse Pump Station is another ARPA-funded project that will deliver reuse water to the Mesa del Sol area and the county recreation complex. And so that project is also county ARPA-funded. It is in design right now. We're in the process of both design as well as some property acquisition. And we hope to have that design completed by early next year and then be able to go into construction. And then finally, we have numerous Southside Water Reclamation Plant facility upgrades, as well as the habitat restoration outfall project. And so those projects are all in various stages of design and construction. Next slide. So just some pictures that I can't think are kind of probably the funnest part of the presentation. So going from left to right on the top. So those are fiber reinforced polymer mortar pipes. That's a corrosion resistant pipe that's for our Kirtland Air Force Base project. So that's just pipe laying out on the ground that's about to go into our existing host pipe. And so this is a slip lining project. And so the rehab method, basically, if you look at the next picture, you can kind of see the contractor is cutting the top off of our existing host pipe and creating an open pit. And then what we're doing is we're taking that corrosion-resistant pipe and we're slipping it inside the old 1960s era host pipe and creating basically a new pipe within the old pipe. Neat project, neat process, and that was the project I mentioned that's been going on since middle of last year and should be done with the bulk of that interceptor rehab in the next month or so. The bottom three pictures are a different interceptor rehab project that we're doing. This is the I-20, the I-40 and Western Trail project. And so this is the one that's rehabbing about 2.5 miles between I-40 and Western Trail. And this is on our west side interceptor. So for this particular technique, it's a little bit different than slip lining. In this case, the contractor's set up, as you see from that first picture, there's a bunch of HDP piping, and the contractor sets up that piping, sets up some pumps, pulls the sewage out of the existing pipe, runs it through these bypass pipes, and then literally empties about a mile or a half mile of pipe, which allows the contractor to go in, clean all the debris, sediment, et cetera, out of that pipe, and then they take a resin-soaked sock and they put it inside the pipe, they blow it up, and they use a heating process to cure the pipe, and they turn it into basically a plastic pipe inside the existing pipes. So really, really neat process. You can see there the third picture is kind of showing that sock being run into the existing pipe, blown up, and then it turns it into a solid pipe. So it's really neat technology. If you're ever interested, we can certainly provide an opportunity to kind of show you how that process works. It's very neat. Next slide. And then, of course, CIP in action. We're also doing an awful lot of pipe and reservoir rehab around the city as well. The top three slides are a recent emergency project that we had over on Tomasita and Tomasita and Freeway Place. And this was a project that took about 6 weeks to complete. We had a 36-inch transmission line break, which was a little bit concerning because it's, of course, during our high demand period. And the project basically involved replacement of some 36-inch lay-down gate valves from the 1960s and replaced those along with some additional piping, a lot of valves. So it was a very large project that replaced a lot of infrastructure in the middle of that intersection. And so took about 6 weeks to get completed, and we actually should be complete with that project by the end of this week. So the types of projects that we get, from time to time, based on emergencies that happen with our system. And then the last three slides are just kind of showing, just like, I've got a roof on my house and that roof, eventually is going to need to be repaired and rehabbed. This is the roof of one of our reservoirs that just has some old caulk that is sun damaged and basically dried up and needs to be repaired and replaced. And so these are kind of some of the types of rehab projects that we engage in on a regular basis with our operations staff to continuously improve and maintain the infrastructure that we have. And I'll stand for any other questions you guys might have.
Any further questions up here? Yes, Vice Chair Feeblecorn.
I'm just curious on the top middle slide there, or top middle picture on that slide. It says there's unclaimed utility cable. What's first of all, why is there unclaimed utility cable? But what do? Do you just put it back down and cover it back up again?
Yeah, we keep it in place. We typically try to determine whether it's live or dead or abandoned infrastructure. But in cases where we're not 100% sure, we just leave it in place. Okay. And don't obviously don't cut it or try to impact it.
Thanks.
Yes, ma'am.
I did have one question for you on the north-south reuse project, which we talked about a couple times tonight. Wasn't on this thing. I know y'all are working on it, and just wondered if you had any update on that or any further information on where that is. I know that we've got that funding that's rolled over from the past legislative sessions, and there were some additional appropriations made this year. So if you could give us a quick.
When I saw that on the agenda, I realized I probably should have put the Windrock project on the list here. So that project, as you mentioned, we do have some funding available for that. We're in the process of scoping the design for that project. The goal is to fast track that design as much as we possibly can. We're likely looking at early part of next year to complete that design. And then as soon as we have that design completed, we will obviously go directly into bidding and construction.
Yes, Mr. Real.
I have one interesting question related to a couple of the internet companies in town who have been talking about looking at using these, mostly the wastewater system, to try and attach cable, if you will, to the actual infrastructure. Right now, they're looking at all of our storm drainage program, mostly because there's not a lot of water that goes through it except periodically. And as opposed to tearing up the street and using the existing system to basically provide internet service to the whole city. Have you all ever entertained that conversation with them, not using any of your systems, but just when you're doing these, again, to Councilor Feeble-Corn's question as it relates to unclaimed cable, do you all run into any kind of a conversation with any of those companies related to attaching cable to the exterior of the pipes, or in particular for wastewater? Have any of those come to you all?
We have not.
Okay, good to know. Thanks.
Anything further here? No? Thank you for your update on the really important work that you all do on our engineering team and project team to keep our infrastructure in good repair and modern and working, because we all want to have water when we turn on our faucets, and we want the wastewater to go to the right places.
That's right.
And that's what you all do, so we really appreciate the work of the staff on that, and all the contractors and partners that we have that make that happen every day. So,
Thank you so
for your
much.
report.
Appreciate it.
And our last item tonight is item B, OB 23-14, which is a water report from Ms. Agnew. Good evening.
Good evening, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the board. Thank you for the opportunity to talk to you this evening. I am presenting on the draft dashboard that we have developed since the last board meeting. It was requested that the Water Authority look into creating a dashboard to reflect the triggers from the drought plan that you all approved. And so this is our first cut of it. And so just to walk you through the dashboard, I know much of this will seem familiar in concept, and it's just a graphic and a starting point. On the left, we have the drought map. This is the drought monitor that you have seen Carlos present multiple months, talking about what our status is. And we've got the drought levels down below. And this is that first level trigger. Looking at the Bernalillo County, looking at what the drought monitor is saying our coverage is, in this case, it's mostly abnormally dry. And if we move into that D3 status, that would be a trigger for the drought plan. And in the center is looking at production. In this case, it's showing May, 65% groundwater, surface water, 35% groundwater. And then turning to the far right, we have the two other trigger points. We have the groundwater pumping versus the goal. In other words, looking at the rolling average of groundwater pumping relative to what the AOP what indicated we would be doing for the year, and then looking at the percentages. We are currently at 116%, so we're below that green line in the dashboard window. And then the final trigger that's captured in this dashboard is our GPCD versus goal. So the goal for right now would be 136, and our current GPCD is 124. So we're much below that trigger as well. Next slide. There's a bonus slide tonight just to provide some additional context to the dashboard that we're presenting to you tonight. The top left graphic is, I am a self-proclaimed data nerd. I stood up here and talked about that. This one was kind of fun to show. So when you saw me in April, I presented to you our draft AOP, and we were running off of the March forecast that we received from Reclamation. So we built our entire AOP off of March. We had to because we have a deadline of submitting our AOP in May. And that bottom dashed line that the arrow is pointing to, that is what April said central flows would look like this year. And then March was a nuts month for snow. We had snowpacks jump from just below normal to well above normal. And then they updated the forecast in April and in May and in June, and that's what's reflected in this chart. So you can see that we saw an incredible change in the flow conditions at Central, both in what we saw in reality and what was being forecasted. The reason why this matters is that there's a lot of intricate mechanisms that are in play in the river to manage flows. And one of them is Abiquiu Reservoir. So Abiquiu Reservoir has a function for flood control. And so you can see in the top right that when flows in the river system get to be a certain point, Abiquiu flips into flood control. And the only water that can come out of Abiquiu is native Rio Grande water. And they stop releasing San Juan Chama water. The Water Authority, we try to get ahead of that. So when I was here presenting the AOP, I mentioned we were moving water proactively down to Elephant Butte so that we can continue operating during flood control operations. But you can also see in that April forecast that we were looking at a lot less of a snow year than what we really saw. So we found out once the May forecast arrived that we didn't have enough in Elephant Butte, which meant that we had to adjust our operations and begin talking to the state engineer, find a new arrangement, negotiate a new exchange that extended further into the year and allowed us to be using water that we hadn't transferred down to Elephant Butte yet. The state engineer was incredibly helpful. They were a great collaborator, and they provided approval for that revised agreement the end of May. So that's tying back to that dashboard, that 65% surface water, 35% groundwater. While the water in the river was very flow, we were slowing our use of surface water a little bit to extend how much we had in Elephant Butte until we could get that OSC agreement in place. And so that's how those mechanisms relate to each other. But even so, if you look at the table on the second slide, we've prioritized surface water. So even in those nuanced conditions where we're responding to changed forecast, changed conditions from the reservoir where we store our water, we still were dominantly surface water. May 65, but June we're projecting to be 70% or more surface water. So we got that agreement from the state engineer, and then we ramped back up our surface water production so that we were able to take advantage of that resource as long as it's available. Though I will point out that we are looking at changed conditions. By Saturday, that river is going to look very different. This forecast shows it, but based on talking with the Army Corps, we can expect to see Central around 500 CFS this weekend, and we've been riding at 4,000 CFS. So it'll be a very dramatic change for all of us. And then even towards the end of the year, we're looking at low flow conditions, and we still will have to shut down the plant. But that's, like I mentioned in April, we're just going to do maintenance while we're down. So we have to do it for the river. We also have to do maintenance. We're going to combine those two things in that month to take advantage of those conditions. But the other thing to highlight here is that we don't focus on the exact moment. So what we're pumping for groundwater right now, we have to look at it as multiple lines of evidence so that we're looking at how the system's responding to our actions, because it isn't immediate. And so that's what this USGS chart is highlighting. We collaborate with the USGS to monitor over 130 monitoring wells throughout the entire service area to look at what groundwater is doing. We also collaborate with the Bureau of Geology and Socorro to look at how the aquifer levels are responding to our management actions. And so it's not just that we've seen a rise in the water table, but we also do an effort to look at our management level. Water 2120 says we will maintain a water table above 110 feet below pre-development, which is where the water began before any pumping began. And we're at 84. So we have this water time series I'm showing you here where the water levels are not going down, they're kind of holding steady. The up and down you're seeing in that chart's from seasonal fluctuations from irrigation season where we're and high demand season where we pump a little bit more, and then winter when we pump a little bit less. But it's holding steady. We don't see that same downturn that you see in the chart between 1997 and 2008 when the surface water plant came on. So these are some charts to hopefully show that there's multiple ways that we're looking at the system, and all of this feeds into the AOP. AOP feeds into this dashboard that we have for the drought plan, and we're looking at things as proactively as we can, and also as many different angles as we can. And with that, I'll send for any questions.
Seeing none, I do have one sort of for you. On the last chart, the USGS chart, would you agree with me, I guess, that my interpretation of it is that we've probably plateaued with sort of what we're going to get out of the surface water plant gains relative to groundwater pumping, and sort of we've seen that level off, although I know we've had a couple of bad years, now we've had a better year, but it seems like with the climate changing and, you know, population growth and other things at play, we've probably plateaued, or where do we think we're at?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, that's a really great question. We've modeled this, so we've looked at what we think groundwater will do with our Water 2120 strategy, and also with use of surface water and groundwater in response to consecutive years of drought. And we do think it could still come up more. In fact, the USGS model thought it could come up an additional 20 or 30 feet. So this kind of flatlining is more showing that we are not utilizing groundwater in a way that's like over drawing down the aquifer more than we intend to, that we're actually kind of holding it level, which is like putting on cruise control effectively. You know, we're not screaming down, we're still pumping on it, so it can't come up anymore. But I would anticipate if we get some additional years where we're able to run the plant as we typically have, that we would start to see that groundwater level continue to come back up. And the groundwater is kind of a funny system because it's not instantaneous. And I think that's why it's necessary to have other things to look at. But it could be that we have, we run the plant as we forecasted this year, and I show you that time series chart, and it's still holding flat. And then the year I come back, 2025, and it's come back up again. So it'll be interesting to see.
Makes sense. I appreciate your answer for that question. Yes, Vice Chair Fiebelkorn.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess I'm confused on, so we've got 4,000, and the flow is 4,000.
Yeah.
It's going from 4,000 to 500 in a day. Yeah. Can you just talk about how that is forecast and what it's based on, and then also how that impacts wildlife? Because that just seems like a dramatic problem for any wildlife who live or are reliant on the river.
Yeah, so I will start with your last question and walk back if that's okay. So there's a pretty large team that gathers with all the agencies in the Middle Rio Grande to coordinate these types of efforts. And specifically for the species, the request was that the Army Corps do that decrease in steps. So that forecast is showing it like shooting down. In reality, it's going to be much slower. And we've asked that team's asked them to split it into the decreases into multiple times of day, so we don't shock a system, so that there's time for the system to ease out of it, for lack of a better phrase. And that's from advice from the Fish and Wildlife Service, and it's from advice with many of the endangered species experts from the Interstate Stream Commission. So that's the intention, and we'll see what happens. I think this is a fairly unusual situation. The reason why this is happening the way it is there's two reservoirs in play. There's Abiquiu and there's Cochiti. And Cochiti is really what's driving that flow that we're seeing at Central in this forecast. Cochiti was receiving native floodwater both from the Rio Chama tributary and the main stem Rio Grande coming from Colorado. that water, for a while, they were unable to, they can't store it, and if it gets, we're at a point where if they keep it past July 1st, it gets locked in, they can't actually move it down to Elephant Butte. So what they've been doing with Cochiti is they've been keeping those flows as high as they can to balance flood control in the Middle Rio Grande, and then also keep the native water moving south so that the state can meet its commitments for the compact. And Abiquiu has a large volume of water too. So what they're trying to do is keep a lot of that native water moving, meet their commitments to, help the state meet their commitments to the downstream users, flood control, and all of that balances into the flows that you're seeing. But what this really reflects, I think, is that flows at Central reflect what's happening at Cochiti. And then after July 1st, which is why that drop-off occurs, Cochiti is going to flow the same amount of water coming in. So when we look at what's coming out, or coming through Ottawa up by Espanola, it's exactly the amount of water that's going to be coming out of Cochiti. So the forecast could be too low. Like it could be the reality that inflows are 1,000, so outflows are 1,000, and it could be less of a shock to the system. I hope I answered your question.
You did answer my question. I guess I heard that there is some consideration for native wildlife in the decisions of this dramatic flow decrease that I guess could happen over a week or 2 weeks, not just one day. But it didn't sound like that was a high priority for the decision-making of when something this dramatic is happening. And I worry about that, and I'm very concerned that, we have endangered species in the river, but we also have a lot of wildlife who live there, and I'd just like to make sure that they're being considered in these kind of decisions.
Yeah, Chair, Vice Chair, I hear the comment. I should also make sure I clarify that those decisions are not Water Authority. They're the Army Corps releases, but your comments received. Yeah.
Yeah, and I would echo what Councillor Feeblecorn said and just say, that it's unfortunate that, we're talking about this here, but the decision makers on this, extend not only up to the state level, but federal level, and there is no consideration really in our water law for the environment, for ecosystem services, for animals and plant life, and it's really unfortunate that we don't have those kinds of protections for the base of our ecosystem, but unfortunately, it's probably not a problem we're going to solve right here, right now. So appreciate your work on this. Was there any further questions? All right. Seeing none, thank you so much, Ms. Agnew, for your report tonight.
Thank you.
And with that being said, that concludes all of our business tonight, and I call this meeting adjourned.